Ronnie. I'm Michael Lee. I'm from the Nerds of Color. How are you doing?
I'm okay. I know Nerds of Color. You guys,
Yes, yes. They sent me this time. So
yeah.
um, I enjoyed the movie and I enjoyed your part of it, especially
Thank you so
because
much.
Fish, even though he has like a kind of a brief role, he's still very funny.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
And
very small.
especially the way he's introduced, he gives me the impression that he's seen so many things on his travels.
Oh, yeah,
Especially,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
It's hard to talk about the character without spoiling it. So I
yeah. So
appreciate
that,
you.
yeah,
Yeah, I
I'm trying to
appreciate
be
you
like
trying to talk around it. But yeah, I mean,
trying to talk around it. Yeah, yeah, without
yeah, yeah. But
revealing like
needless to
his
say,
secrets.
yeah.
Um, uh, so I wanted to know, um, does that like lack of backstory give you the kind of the room to play around with the material maybe? Does like, be more like creative with his backstory or
Yeah, that's actually a good question because we actually did like play around with it just because for example, we when we were doing the script, we would the director would always let me improv some lines
okay.
at the end, and we would improvise jokes based on his backstory that references to his relatives that is not in the script, but again, it's so hard to explain without giving it away. But
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah. I
but
don't want
but
to
yes,
spoil
but to answer
anything.
your question, yes, yeah, I definitely was able to mess around with his backstory because it's such a quirky character.
So like I was kind of going to like follow up like how did he let you cut loose basically? Like was there anything like left on the cutting room floor that you will hope makes it into like the extras or on the
Yeah,
Blu-ray
yeah,
or
there
something?
was some stuff. We did like alternative jokes for a lot of lines. We added in a lot of backstory.
Okay.
I mean, the thing with edits is usually you don't really miss what's cut because the
Okay.
film is so well made that you don't
Mhm.
feel like it. You know, what I mean, you don't feel like you need anything more. Once you cut it, usually you don't miss it. That's my
Okay.
experience in the edit. But we did have a lot of fun with it. I mean, they let me go kind of nuts.
Okay. So while it's clear that there's a uh, Chinese identification through that's represented through the imagery and food and costume designs, it's also the Kung Fu Panda films had to start with kind of a stereotypical elements from a Western point of view, right? So
Mm.
I was just wondering, since that's changed with more demand for more authentic and meaningful representation. I was wondering if you ever came across something in a script that you went like, this has got to change. This says, this has got to go, or we got to modify this just to be more respectful and sort of, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah. I think, I mean, to kind of comment on the first part of your question, I think Kung Fu Panda, what is really unique about this franchise is that even though it wasn't made by um, Chinese producers, so to speak, it was made in America. Uh, I think it was made with a lot of uh, authenticity and respect for the
Yeah.
wuxia
Okay.
genre, and I think that came through. I think that's why even people in China love the franchise because I think the love of it and the respect for the source material and the homage of it really
Yeah.
came through. And I'm not
Yeah. Yeah.
saying everyone is capable of that. It's one thing to say you love a culture and you love a genre. It's another thing to be able to execute, right? So this was able to
Right.
do both. It was able to do both. So
Okay.
to answer the second part of your question, like have I seen stuff? Yeah, yeah, I have. And uh, most of the time, I've never had a situation where someone made me say something that I was like, this isn't gonna work. It like for cultural reasons. Well, I'm telling them, hey, listen,
Mm-hmm.
this isn't culturally. We're not gonna do this. Uh, I've never had a situation where someone said, well, you're gonna do it anyway. So I mean,
Okay.
I,
That's
I
good.
hope that answers the question. Yeah,
No,
yeah,
that's answering my question.
yeah.
Okay, unfortunately, that was my last question. So thank you so much. This was great for me, and I'm just going to tell everyone to pay attention to your character
Oh,
because
thanks so much. Yeah, thanks for
yeah,
watching and
because
thanks for speaking to me.
so with this being the fourth chapter in the long-running franchise, it's basically reaching multi-generational families. I was one that grew up with this franchise since it came out, so I was wondering what fascinated you the most about continuing Poe's journey as a dragon warrior and a lovable panda. Yeah.
Stephanie?
Is it okay if you go first? Sorry, there's like
Yeah, of course. So, what I think this is the best franchise that's been done at DreamWorks or anywhere. And one of the things that I love the most about it is Jack Black as this pan, like he is Poe. Like there's not much separation between the performer Jack Black, the actor, and Poe, the Kung Fu Panda. So that is why it stood the test of time. We love it, but also we had a bunch of fans that worked on the film, like animators that grew up watching Kung Fu Panda in the theater, and they were brought to tears knowing that they were going to get to animate on Kung Fu Panda. Or some of them, like Stephanie says, there's battles about who got to animate Tai Lung because they were such super fans from being kids. It was amazing. Which leads me to the next thing is, I think more so than any other franchise, this has the best, Kung Fu Panda has the best villains ever created for an animated film. And so we wanted to make sure, like, if we're going to do this one, that we had the best villain of all time for Poe to go up against for his final battle.
Yeah, and I just want to echo what Mike said, because for me, definitely having the main character be Poe, and played by Jack Black, he's so awesome. But it, both of these characters, they're just so positive all the time, and like it doesn't matter like what obstacle you throw at them. And then with Poe, throughout all four of these movies, he's faced some pretty heavy things, like his whole panda family was wiped out in the second movie, and then in this movie he faces some pretty deep personal challenges, but no matter what, it's just the way that he faces them. Like you can punch him down, you can kick him down, but he won't stay down for a long time. He'll get himself right back up.
And he always has a sense of humor about it too, doesn't he?
He has a sense of humor about it, and it's really fun watching him. And it's just like that's really inspirational for a lot of people. Like hey, yeah, life can be hard, but it's totally possible to brush yourself back off, with a smile and just be like, let's try again. I think that's what's great about Poe and Jack Black.
I love it that we kind of brushed on a little bit about the thematics, the themes of the film about, perseverance and whatnot. I wanted to talk about the cinematic inspirations about, the camera work, and then how it felt like there was I guess like a GoPro, like you were like drawn into the action, basically. You were right there. What can you talk about some of those inspirations that made the action scenes more dynamic, I guess? Yeah.
Well, Stephanie, you can get into the details, but like right away, it's been a while since we've even seen the last Kung Fu Panda film. And during that time, not like a lot of technology has evolved. And also even Kung Fu fighting styles have evolved. And we got to hire like some live action stunt people to do some moves for us. So it's like everything, we tried to bring everything up to date, but stay in the world of Kung Fu Panda. And we found it was the most exciting with the camera work. And Stephanie, didn't you call it the GoPro camera?
it was actually not coined by me.
Okay.
I think it was both of our heads of layout, Josh Gunther and Robert Crawford. Yeah, they conceived of the GoPro, and then I think it was Josh who started calling it the GoPo, which sent all of us howling. So.
And we haven't seen it before in any of the previous movies. We haven't really been able to attach the camera wherever we wanted to. So we thought we'd take advantage. That was one of the many things we took advantage of for this one.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask about the representation because Mike Mitchell, you said in the production notes that you wanted to emphasize on more representation, and then Stephanie Ma is clearly here and she brings it into it kind of the way that Jennifer Yeo did it in the last two films. She added more than just representation. She added her voice and everything else to make sure it was true and authentic to the story. Well, and in terms of representation. So I was wondering how important that was for you both to kind of continue on that legacy of sorts in a film like this.
I think it's very important, and we doubled down on that. So much so that Stephanie taught everyone how to play mahjong on the team. It was great.
Yeah, and it was very important for us to bring as many Asian actors onto this as possible. I think Everything Everywhere All at Once had just come out, and we were like, that guy right there, we need to get Ki Hee Kwan. We need to get him to play one of the key characters in this. Yeah, he gets to play a key character. Yeah.
Yes.
Early on too, Stephanie. Like I think Stephanie and I even made a list because this has more Chinese actors than any of the previous Kung Fu Panda movies, and we actually even built characters around the actors. Like we were talking about the actors before we were finished designing the characters, right, Stephanie? That was kind of
yeah, we were. And then I think another breakout role for us, not that this guy has needed a breakout thing, but Ronny Cheing, he's
Just
incredible. He plays Fish as part of the duo Fish.
the angriest fish in the world.
The angriest fish in the world.
yes.
But yeah, I just love. I really love his character in this movie. He brings so much comedy to it.
He is that fish, and Lori is that poor pig.
Yes,
And
Lori
it's
Tan
like
Chinn,
really we.
I was going to ask, I think this may be my final question, but what was it like to, because we know what it's like to hear Jack Black play as Poe, and then for Stephanie, you worked on Raya with, so you worked with Aquafina, so you're familiar with both the voice works. So what was it like for you to see Ronnie and Laurie in the voice booth, just riffing, and because even though their roles are brief, they're still so funny, and you still laugh, and yeah. So what was that like?
Man, it was an experience. It was like a roller coaster working with them. I mean, both of them have this insane energy where I feel like they can just like knock you down with just their words. I mean, I feel like Lori especially, like she's a badass, like oh my God, she was cussing up a storm the whole time, and we're like, can you do that line without the F word?
Yeah.
And she's like,
she'd also do pig noises, which was fantastic. She did a lot of oinking, and like it's hard to hear because it's during the fight sequences, but a lot of spectacular pig noises.
Oh, they both had so much fun with their characters. It was
And Ronnie was so
really
angry,
fun.
it's funny. How could he be so angry and it makes you laugh? I don't know how that guy does it. But
And that's just how he sounds. Like I don't. I actually kind of want to see him angry, because I'm like, would he sound different, or
yeah. Does it have a whole nother thing? Less stabbing.
There's a whole nother layer to it. Yes.
Yeah. And Aquafina was great too, by the way. The fact that she was already buddies with Jack Black was really made it fun to work with her,
Yeah.
Well, that was my last question. Thank you so much. I hope those riffs and cussing stuff that makes it onto like some sort of special Blu-ray.
Someday, you never know.
Yeah, someday.
You never know, Michael. It sneaks in. It won't be on a Blu-ray, but it might be on the internet somewhere.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Cursing Granny Boar.
Thank you.
Chinese, no less.
So I want to start with Lori. Boar is so funny. Even though she has a brief role, I was just I feel like she's kind of the character that's has quite a history with the bunny establishment that she's set up on the cliff, right? So I was wondering, what did that kind of vagueness in her backstory give you the kind of room to play around with creating the character into what it is now? And were there any things that like improv moments that you just kept on riffing? Yeah.
Well, in the recording booth, like I say, I don't know the whole story, but the director was just so excited because her establishment, as you saw, kind of teeters on many factors. So we had the immediacy of the moment and what would happen and what doesn't happen, and so all of that craziness. I enjoyed it a lot.
So were there any moments where you had like extra time like to improv? Like did you, because they were telling me that you were cutting up a storm, so I was just wondering Like,
Oh yeah.
what were your favorite moments that you kind of wish would make it to the like the uncut version of this movie?
Well, I think that they cut out the four-letter words. But from my past experience, I was quite the gourmet four-letter word server. So yeah, it was I don't know when the swords came out, when you pulled
Yeah,
out, but through improvisation, I started screaming and yelling, and I'm not sure if they had that already in mind, but all of a sudden I heard that she could pull out the tusks. So uh anyway, that was a fun thing. It was very, very fun to ad lib, and I ad libbed a lot.
No
and so
kidding.
and James, this is, I mean, this is like your fourth time in the films. So I was just wondering, what's it like to continue on this sort of legacy and sort of see new layers to Ping, because this is a really important character in Poe's life, and now we're seeing him in a new place where he's with Lee and everything else. So what's that dynamic been like? And
Mhm. Well, I think Mr. Ping is a very lovable character, and the love he gives to this adopted son is really something to see and something to feel. In that sense, it's a real good thing to have that relationship on on screen, and it just shows that everyone really cares for one another, no matter who they are. And Mr. Ping has become James Hong, and James Hong has become Mr. Ping all these years, because you can't portray a character all through these decades almost, and not be part of it. The lines like, for instance, that early one that always stays in my mind, and says, Paul, there's something I've been meaning to tell you for a long, long time. The secret ingredient to the secret ingredient soup is nothing. So, and from that, Poe sees what the reality of the situation is. So the writers and producers and directors know how to handle Mr. Ping and what he does in his love for this son. So I'm very happy to play this character.
so do you have anything to add, since or like change, or not necessarily change, but do you is there anything that you would like to, not sorry, so let me start over. With Since you play the characters for so long, do you add anything new to Mr. Ping? Because he's like, oh, I would like to probably see him in this different thing, or say something else maybe.
Yeah, well, Michael, Mr. Ping just kind of holds that tempo and the thread of that relationship throughout all the
Okay.
1, 2, 3, and now 4. And pardon me, I haven't seen number 4 yet, so I can't make a
Okay.
judgment on it.
Yeah.
No. That's completely fine. I get it.
But
So
however, I'm very anxious to see the new film with all these different characters now in it. It seems like DreamWorks has gone another direction, maybe for the future, for number
yeah.
5 and 6. I can do number 5 and number 6, but I don't know. Number 6, we'll have to do something else.
Oh, okay.
So unless I can come back at 100 years old and talk to you, I hope so, Michael.
Hope so. Yes, yes. You're a legend, honestly. So it's such an honor to talk to both of you.
Uh,
Um, Speaking about, about this whole idea of representation, I just wanted to know, what's it been like for you to see, I guess, a kind of a progressive change throughout these films, because it started out with a westernized perspective, but that's also with a love for Chinese culture, and then we started getting more more representation in the sequels with Jennifer Yeh as the director and now Stephanie Ma as co-director. I was wondering what kind of impact that leaves, not only for the artists, but for the people that are watching the film.
Well, I think I feel very much closer to the film when there is somebody in the creative side that is, that's Asian. It helps. However, Mitchell, the director, is wonderful, and I must thank DreamWorks and Universal for helping. The other day, during my birthday, just a few days ago, they had me put my handprint and footprints on the sidewalk of the Chinese theater. That was astronomical. So I know they like what I'm doing, and they like the character Mr. Ping. So I'm very thankful that I have worked for such wonderful people, and they give me a good lunch right after this, the different, although, like Glory said, we don't get dumplings. That part
Yes,
we'll have to fix. So it's been a great joy working in this whole series.
So this is my last question because I have 1 more minute left. But since you don't, this Chinese New Year, I was wondering what do you guys order for dim sum or anything else that's not a dumpling? Because that seems very,
You mean when we order food to
Yeah.
DreamWorks?
yeah.
Well, so far we haven't had any noodles of any kind. I kind of like to have some yakamen,
Yeah.
It's like the ones they serve in San Francisco. So they'll have to send for it from that restaurant in San Francisco and bring
San
it down.
Francisco can, yeah.
Yeah.
Yakamen.
And I've been craving snails.
Okay.
Snails and black bean sauce.
Oh man, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much
Really.
for your time. I
Thank
really
you.
enjoyed this movie, and I
Thank
hope
you,
you get to
Michael.
see it soon, James.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
They didn't mind. The activists, directors, comments and the lectures, fanboys, professional artists and professors. Maybe a nerd who's just like you, talking about the things that you like too. So I invite you to the NOC. In full color, you see me. The hard knock life, comics, movies, and TV.